All right, everybody, welcome to the Teacher Dudes post-game show. The Seahawks didn't get anything done there in that second half as they lose to the Vikings 30-17. And Mark and I were briefly talking before we started this, and I'm not sure what the answer is. I don't know what the answer is. I have a few thoughts on what I think could potentially help. But one thing that Mark said, you said that we need to make some changes on the defense and the offense. Which at first I'm like, no, it's not the offense's issue. Like the defense had every chance and have a lot of issues. But then I saw this stat come across, and the stat was that Seattle had been outgained, and this is all before that garbage time drive there right at the end. But Seattle had been outgained 224 yards to 42 in the second half. And that kind of changed my mind about the offense needing some help as well. Granted, the offensive line was not doing as well as they'd been doing. In the first half, Chris Carson was able to rush the ball for what do we say, 74 yards. But then in the second half, now that the game is final, he ended up with only 80 yards rushing. So something's got to give. Mark, what are your initial thoughts?
I think if you had to pick it, I think defense probably cost us the game more than offense. We just could not get off the field. We're just, Kirk Cousins pretty much could do anything. We had blown coverages. We had, like, Trey Flowers to me played awful in the second half, especially. He was 10 yards away from his receiver, his responsibility, like the whole second half of the game. And so Kirk Cousins did not, I don't remember him throwing any deep balls the whole game. It was
No, not at all.
Everything was just this simple out routes, underneath stuff, simple slants, and then of course what do they call it? Screen game. They did extremely well on, and that's I felt like this is the first time we've really missed KJ Wright because that was his specialty. He could sniff out a screen like nothing else, and then I'm just watching Brooks, and Brooks is out of position on all of these. He's not even, he's getting blown up on these screens, and so, that doesn't help at all, So, and then of course defensively, as the game wore down, they just could not stop the run. They just right up the gut. They were just tired, these long drives, and then the offense, was not helping them in the second half. A couple quick 3-and-outs, and then they're back on the field again.
Yeah, you mentioned Cousins, and there really wasn't many highlights at all for the second half. But here's a prime example of what Kirk Cousins was able to do today against our defense, and it's just an amazing feat. And I'll just let the video, speak for itself here.
Seahawks bring it to Heat. Cousins in some trouble, floats it over the middle, and it's Osborne! KJ Osborne with the catch and a first down.
I mean, again, let me play that again so people can actually focus on Cousins. I wish I could slow it down. This platform doesn't let me, but he is falling away from the sack and still able to get this underneath pass off.
Seahawks bring it to Heat. Cousins in some trouble, floats it over the middle, and it's Osborne! KJ Osborne with the catch and a first down.
And I mean, let's be honest, Amandi, if he's not cut this week, I will be shocked. Well, he was trash this whole game.
Yeah, he had some real difficulties, and of course we were kind of stuck with that because Blair was out in this game, and so he had to play that whole, play that nickel type of that corner the whole game, and they've been rotating Blair and him together. And I think they picked on him quite a bit today in those underneath routes, those crossing routes. That was just a prime example.
Yeah. And really quickly, just again, want to thank everybody for joining us. This is the Teacher Dudes post-game show. Seahawks go to Minnesota and lose 17-30 in an ugly game. And Mark, you mentioned the running game for Minnesota just being able to destroy us. And here is a prime example of Alexander Madison, the Boise State alum, just basically telling our defense to sit down.
This is just riding that way. Play Madison, big hole. Madison into the secondary, banging off contact. Madison down to the 5-yard line, 1st and goal, 13 yards.
I mean, did you see what he did there to? I think it was Diggs.
Yeah,
just blew him over.
Let's doesn't help that hole is like 5 yards.
What was the old Madden phrase? You could drive an ambulance through that.
Oh yeah, it was ridiculous. Like you could get a full steam, up to full speed once. And Diggs can hit hard, but Diggs is not a big guy.
Yeah. Here it is again, just one more time.
This is just riding that way. Let's play Madison, big hole. Madison into the secondary, banging off contact. Madison
just said, "Sit down." Just sit down there. And it's crazy that our defense, which has been doing so well for so many years, and I'm seeing on Twitter, people are saying that Ken Norton needs to go, Ken Norton needs to be fired. But in all reality, I think people forget that this is Pete Carroll's defense. He runs the show, and his coordinator is basically his second-hand man to just help him with think through things, not necessarily calling anything.
Well, you know what? I blame a couple of things. I blame the fact that Seattle has put the money in the wrong places on defense. I blame Schneider a little bit for this, but you've had Pete's hand in this as well, because he's he controls everything.
Right.
And so when you pay 17-18 million to a safety, and you got another 20 million plus to a linebacker, what are you going to do?
Well, and talking about the offseason, the moves we didn't make by keeping Griffin, by, who was that cornerback that we picked up from San Francisco and then we cut right before the season? And now it's showing that their lack of depth at all in that secondary.
Yeah, I would say that's seriously an issue, and I don't know where you're going to go out and just pick up a guy. I mean,
right.
Well, it's later on down the road and some.
Now here's the thought though, Mark. Would you bring back Richard Sherman?
No.
Even after this performance today, you would still not bring back Sherman?
Here's the reason. Sherman, where we're getting beat in these games is not where Sherman's specialty was. Sherman's specialty was controlling that, the deep ball. But towards his last year or two in San Francisco, they were picking on him underneath. They were throwing that underneath, those crossing routes and stuff like that. I think people will continue to do that. And I mean, we've lost 2 games and we haven't been beat deep, really, hardly in any of them, maybe one time.
By a pass, not by the run, because we've been beat pretty hard by the run.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, I think Sherman would help, but I don't think he's going to make such a huge difference in where our needs are. Our needs are I think we need to scheme better. I think our defensive mindset is too vanilla. I think we do not have, the playmakers that we need to have, especially in the secondary. It's crazy because you think, okay, you got Adams and Diggs, 2 Pro
Right.
Bowlers, but I don't know. I don't feel like their defense is set up to be successful because of the way we're just getting killed by 1,000 little cuts,
Yeah, and I'm looking, and granted, this is off a website that I just saw at the available cornerback free agents, and I'm seeing Quentin Dunbar is available. He's one name that I recognize. There's not many names on this list that I recognize at all.
Yeah.
Akeem King. But again, why didn't we go to Sidney Jones today? I mean, we traded for him. What's the deal there? I mean, this is a perfect time.
Just give him a shot. I don't even care if he's a former Husky.
Exactly.
I mean,
it looks like Prince Amukamara is available. That's another name that I recognize.
Yeah,
obviously Sherman. But there's not a whole lot out there right now. And it, as much as I want to sit here and blame the cornerbacks, our D line is not getting pressure at all.
No, not too much. Although, again, I saw some good things. I thought Woods played a real good game. He's had 2 really good games in a row. I thought, we had a couple nice rushes off the edge, but they took advantage of our aggressiveness. And in the first half, they were doing all those screen passes, and they're doing those counter runs, and they're just gashing us. And it seems like we did a little bit better on the counter the second half in the screen passes, but then their wide receivers got involved in the second half, and we couldn't stop them.
Well, Adam Thielen he's something else.
He's a good receiver, but it was what is it, Jeffries?
Oh yeah. Justin Jeffries.
And is he a rookie or is this his second year?
I am not sure. Let me look. Not Jeffries, Jefferson. Let's see. Justin Jefferson is. This is his second year.
Yeah.
He was drafted last year in the first round out of LSU.
Yeah, and I remember him coming out of LSU or coming out college last year. So he's really at it. Like, I felt like he had a breakout game. That guy had some twitch on his, like, I don't know how many times our our corners were just like left in the dust with his twitchiness off the ball and stuff.
Oh yeah, he's got a really good get off.
And so that's something that I really, I think Cousins played a good game. He didn't make mistakes. He didn't throw into double coverage. He took what the defense was giving him, and he made some big plays. And I thought their wide receivers did a great job at just finding the soft spots in our zone and everything else. I'm getting really tired, I guess. My biggest issue, I'm getting really tired of seeing these little 5 to 7 yard passes up the middle, and then right after that, Bobby Wagner getting a tackle.
Oh yeah.
And everybody's thinking, oh, hey, Bobby Wagner, look at how many tackles he's getting in the game.
But he shouldn't be.
You don't want him to be getting that many. And secondly, at least 4 or 5 of those tackles every game is him just a second too late in coverage and the dropping into a zone. And he isn't, and I think Bobby Wagner is still a very productive player.
Yes. But he needs help around him.
But I feel like his zone coverage skills have been depleted. I still think he has a good nose for the ball on run defense, but I don't. How many years is he still on? This isn't his last year on the contract. I think he has one more year.
Yeah, I think so.
I think it would be best served if they moved on from him. If there's not too much dead money next year.
Well, but the thing is, though, with that, I mean, he is still a solid player, but if it comes at the cost of, where we can't pick anybody else up, then what? And looking at it, he still has. So he signed a 3-year contract, $54 million. He signed that last year, which expires in 2023.
Okay.
So we've got 2 seasons left with him under contract, but I could see a scenario where we are looking at a trade and getting some possible value out of him. But before we
trade for $20 million aging linebacker.
No, however, it's I was just looking. This is according to the Sport Track. It's only an $18 million a year, so you're off by 2.
Oh, sorry. Sorry.
But again, thank you for tuning in to the Teacher Dudes post-game show. I am Tyler Keefe. This is Mark Pendleton. We're just having some fun talking about the game. We're doing this each and every week as we can, just throughout the season and during college football as well, just for fun, because it's we're both living in different states, and it's just good to talk football. But before we go into more on any potential players, I want to throw up a stat here, Mark. And this stat is, I really think, very telling. Is time of possession. Against the Colts, the Seahawks had time of possession of 24 minutes and 13 seconds. Against the Titans, in the Colts game, we won 28-16. Against the Titans, the game that we lost in overtime, only 22 minutes and 42 seconds. And then today, we only had the ball for 24 minutes and 7 seconds. So on one hand, I love that quick strike offense. I love being able to throw it down the field and make those big plays. But our defense is just getting tired. And what do you expect when the offense is not on the field long enough for you to even go over and, drink a cup of Gatorade?
I agree to an extent there. We did play for the last several years. We played the, slow it down, use every single second on the play clock type of defense. And we weren't getting much better results, and either on defense or on offense. So the thing I like about Waldron's offense at least gives Russell a little bit of a chance to make some adjustments. How well he's making those adjustments, that could be debatable. I mean,
Right.
I did saw a few where he looked like he went into checked down into a run on a couple of them, and we did well, to go against, the rush or whatever, or get some points there. My thing here that I still think we need to do a little bit better is checking down in our protection on Wilson. There's still every once in a while they're going to we're just not protecting well enough, and
He's getting hit too much still.
Yeah, and I saw, what was it? There was, our lineman didn't get the right call, and I think one of their defensive players went right through the middle and nailed Wilson earlier. So there's still some work to do in trying to help him out, but I like that hurry up. It doesn't have to be a hurry up. It just has to be, I like having the call early versus the last 10 seconds.
Yeah, give us time to adjust to what the defense is showing.
Yeah. I think I don't know if the defense, part of that is we're adjusting, but is the defense also adjusting too?
Right.
When they see the look that we come out with,
Yep. Yeah. No, I agree. Let's do a quick look around the league here on the Teacher Dudes post-game show. Again, the Seahawks losing to Minnesota 17-30. Currently, right now, it looks as if the Raiders are down to the Miami 11-yard line, and with a minute 57 to go in overtime, they are tied at 28. So I'm going to keep my eye on that one. But in the rest of the league, in Buffalo, the Bills took care of business against the Redskins. Washington football team 43-21. Browns over the Bears 26-6. Lions losing in the most Lions way possible to a 66-yard field goal, losing to the Ravens 19-17. The Titans taking care of business over the Colts 25-16. Chargers beating Mahomes 30-24 in Arrowhead. The Saints go into Foxborough and took care of business there 28-13. Falcons over Giants 17-14. Bengals over the Steelers 24-10. Cardinals over the Jaguars 31-19. Broncos shutting out the Jets 26-0. I'm pretty sure the Jets need to realize that they need to throw to the players in their same colored uniforms. The Rams over the Buccaneers 34-24. And then again in Las Vegas, we are tied at 28. So thanks everybody for watching. Still, if you have any comments or anything else that you want to add, please give it in the chat, in the comments. But Mark, looking ahead to the next couple of games, the Seahawks have a pretty difficult schedule, both in terms of who they're playing, but also just their physical schedule. So next Sunday, they travel to San Francisco and to take on the 49ers. And then the following Thursday night, they are back at home against the Rams. So if you think about this, currently they are boarding a plane in Minnesota. They're going to fly to Seattle, from Seattle to San Francisco back to Seattle, and they will have played 3 games in about 12 days. And those 2 games against 49ers and the Rams, extremely crucial, because right now we are dead last in the NFC West.
Yeah, I was going to say, if San Fran wins tonight, we're 2 games behind everyone in that whole division, which is crazy. Yeah, I think it. You hate to say there are must-win games, but I think you're gonna have to win at least one of those against San Fran and St. Louis or LA. Sorry. Boy, I'm really going back.
Hey, I was calling the Washington football team the Redskins, so hey, we're all good.
So I think if you got to win at least one of those, because if we go 0-2, we're going to be in a whole lot of trouble, even making the playoffs. I think at that point, yes, we have a tough schedule at the beginning of this year, but the Minnesota game, the Titans game, these were supposed to be one of our,
easier games
to do. And we can't even get that done. How are we going to get, our divisional games? I mean, the nice thing about it is we have our 2 losses have come against non-division opponents. So there's still hope.
Right.
That means in a very tough division, we're going to have to take care of business if we're going to have any shot at making the playoffs.
Yeah, no, I agree. And we're getting some quotes coming out of the locker rooms right now. And this one, as much as I don't want to agree with it, I kind of do. Vikings coach Mike Zimmer said, quote, "It's nice to finish out the game the way we did. I told the team I thought this was the best offensive performance I've seen in the 8 years I've been there." Again, that was Vikings coach Mike Zimmer. And it's hard to disagree with what he did. And the flip side of that quote is Pete Carroll saying, quote, "We threw everything at them defensively." So if that's the case, is the Vikings offense really that good, or are we in for a long season in Seattle?
I will give the Vikings offense some credit because I thought Cousins played well, and I thought their wide receivers played well, and even their running backs played well. And their O-line played well, but we're talking about the Vikings. It's not that much of a different team than it has been the last, 4 or 5 years. It's not like they have a new quarterback. It's the same quarterback, same receivers for the most part. They're even down one of their best players on
With
offense.
With
Dalvin Cook. I mean, what's really that different with them this year compared to previous years? So I can't, they've had the same offense and they've struggled previous years against us. So to me, it's either they played out of their mind and we just couldn't do anything, but I think they just, I think they just outplayed us in every facet of the game, and our defense looked slow today.
They did. And I'll agree with you on that. I wanted to give a quick update. The Raiders did take care of business in overtime, winning 31-28 over the Dolphins with a Carlson 22-yard field goal right as time was expiring. And then a couple last things coming out of the locker room. They did ask what was keeping Sidney Jones from playing cornerback, not quarterback, sorry. And Pete Carroll's response was not much. We'll be looking at everything, which I still think he should have gotten in that game. I'm not gonna lie. I think he could have brought a spark.
That's my problem. I love Pete and I love his motivation, but he and his staff have to be one of the worst staffs at making adjustments, especially at halftime. With personnel or whoever, defensively especially. I don't think Ken Norton, he's a great rah-rah guy, and I love him as a linebackers coach or whatever he needs to be, but he is not a mastermind as a defensive coordinator. He does not have the ability, in my mind, to make the proper adjustments and get the proper people out there. It was clear as day, starting that third quarter that Trey Flowers was having issues. And you got a guy who had some had some success in Tampa Bay last year. I don't know why they didn't even give him a chance to come out there,
Yeah, no, I agree. Well, I think we've pretty much beat the Seahawks game to death. Which, I'm sure we'll be talking about it as the week goes, and looking forward to next week as the Seahawks will be traveling to San Francisco. But speaking of San Francisco, they are playing tonight against the Packers. Give me a quick 30-second prediction on the game tonight.
I think San Fran's going to win this one. I don't have any faith in Green Bay's defense at all. And I think Rodgers, he will do some stuff, but he's just not going to do enough. And I think San Fran's going to have a big rushing game on Green Bay, and they're going to control the clock for most of the game.
See, as much as I want to agree with you, I'm going to go against you and say that I think Aaron Rodgers is going to come out and light up the night the way that he has done in the past to shut the critics up. I think that he'll just be on fire, and the 49ers are going to, 49er it. I don't know the right term to say Cougat in this one, but I am probably wrong and on that one, and they'll probably come out and just destroy him, which, again, I don't know which team I hate more, 49ers or the Packers. So in this one, I'm going to pick the Packers, but in all reality, I don't really care who wins or loses. And same thing with the Monday night game of the Eagles and Cowboys. So, kind of sit
there's
there.
a game there.
Yeah, it'll be I need to go clean the garage game, even though it's on and it's football. But yeah. Mm-hmm. But all right, well, appreciate everybody for tuning in, sticking with us for this 30 minutes on the Teacher Dudes postgame show. Again, the Seahawks losing 17-30 in Minnesota. Appreciate everybody that has been sticking around. Be sure to like, subscribe, all that fun jazz to catch us as we go live again next week. And we should have our regularly scheduled podcast coming up hopefully this week as well. But until later, appreciate everybody out there. Mark, thank you for joining me, and we will talk to you guys all later.